Okay.
Because it's on the district account I'm using then, and that way I don't have to have you download it, send it to me, download it, and then re-upload it.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I was trying to private message you, Tim, and I looked at the list. We have quite a great group here, so I was going to see if we could take the afternoon off, but according to Toastmasters protocol, I believe that we have to go through training today. We're almost there. You guys give yourself a round of applause. You got this session and then announcements, and then many of you can go off and enjoy your Saturday. I just wanted to take a couple moments to do a couple housekeeping things. First, we want to be interactive. If you need to answer questions, speak, put something in chat, please feel free to do so. This is your time. We want to make sure that we use it wisely and that we answer any questions that you may have. We're going to go ahead and jump in. There are a few things that I want to talk about. One, we're going to go through some mandatory slides, some mandatory material that Toastmasters International has us covered. That's why we're here today. It's the first TLI, and we want to make sure people that are filling this role for the first time have the resources. I want you to keep in mind that we want to get to the interactive portion, but don't want to rush through. Today, we're going to start with the presentation, and we are going to go through, as Lance Miller would say, we're going to take you to the Home Depot first. We're going to do a little shopping, let you know what you need to do, and then we're going to come back and we're going to add your individual creativity, your club creativity to those tools that we pick up, and we're going to build a strong club for the new year. With that said, I am going to go ahead and pull up the agenda. Today, we're going to take a quick overview of what the president role is. Then we're going to look at the responsibilities, and we're going to get into some resources and tools, as I said. After that, we want to get interactive and talk quite a bit. So Tim, I'm on the full screen here sharing. I'll do that the whole presentation. So I may not always be able to see the chat if you can keep an eye on there. But I do want, if everyone could put your home club in the chat, it just gives us the opportunity to do some quick introductions without taking a lot of time off of the agenda. So if you get a chance, just type in your home club.
Weekend, woo.
We're allowed to cheer. We're allowed to have fun. Even Lance promotes fun meetings. The second thing I want to get, and Tim, you can let me know what things are looking like. I did see the registration because I've been monitoring it. I know we got some new Toastmasters that are already going into president's roles, which are great. That is awesome to see. We also have some people that are very familiar faces. So I'd like to see in the chat if you could put whether this is your first, second, third, if you're really crazy, fourth, fifth, sixth time being president. Lance said he was president. He's going to go for president for the third time at his club.
I saw fourth. We had a fourth on there.
Good, good. Is anyone managing 90 members like Lance was at one point when they were number 4 in the world? If you are, you can go with Tim and take the afternoon off.
Seriously. Yeah, like
so we got some some experience, about a balance. I guess I don't have to be that lazy. I can look at the chat myself here too.
Okay.
I like some people are coming back after. Okay, we got some good. I like this. This is a good balance. Well, always save the chats in our Zoom meetings because those of you that are newer presidents, keep an eye on who's done it a few times, what division they're in, and then you know who to go to for assistance as we build relationships and network today. That's great. Okay, that will move us into what are our objectives today. And we want to, again, identify our role, look at our responsibilities, and then identify the resources. I think that at this time, we let you guys kind of give a brief introduction of yourselves, and Tim and I would like to introduce ourselves, and I'll go ahead and let Tim start and then introduce myself.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tim Maloney. I am past president. I was president of Beacon Club 3 times. I just finished my term. And I've been a member of Beacon Club since 2012, I believe. And last year, I also joined Toastmasters. And it's been great. I am super excited. We are actually going to start meeting in person again in August. And I just love Toastmasters, and that's it for me for right now.
Great stuff, Tim. Tim's been a great asset to the district in his many roles, has done many creative things. If you didn't see him at the spring conference, the video that he did getting his DTM, so let's give Tim a round of applause. He is a newer DTM and achieved that goal, and the video was awesome, by the way, Tim.
Thanks,
I'm Bob Johnson. For those of you that may not know me or have met me already, I am currently the program quality director for District 13 for a few more days. Then at midnight on July 1st or June 30th, however you're looking at it, Mountain Time, because headquarters is in Colorado, I will be coming in as the new district director. So I'm very excited to lead the district alongside of all of our club officers, especially our club presidents. We have a huge responsibility this year because we're coming out of one of the most turbulent, crazy, couldn't have projected, foreseen times that we'll probably ever go through. And our goal is, okay, how do we bring our clubs back if your clubs are struggling? How do we rebuild our clubs if your club is no longer around? Those type of things we got to look at. So today we start that journey, and I'm very excited. I have, as far as background, I am from the Cranberry High Noon Club is my home club. I've served in various roles of leadership, including president at Cranberry High Noon, moved on to district leadership. I was Division B director, club growth director, program quality director, and I told you about the big thing happening for next year. Okay, introductions aside, we're going to move right along and keep this going again. And Tim, don't let me down on that chat room or hands up.
Hey, Bob, can I interrupt you before we get started? If you don't mind?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Sure, absolutely.
I have some questions. You know, I've been reading some things. When I say reading some things, I've been seeing some things on the internet about what you know, the role of a president. And some of them seem kind of fishy, maybe even like an urban legend or something. So, Bob, with your, you know, your awesome leadership as program director, quality director, I'd like to run them by you. You can be like my Snopes.com for Toastmaster myths. What do you think? A couple seconds?
All right, I'll give it a shot, Tim.
I have no idea why my video was off. That was weird. Well, here's like the first thing that I saw. It said in many clubs, the members take turn buying the president like a tea or a coffee and then bringing it to them at the beginning of the meeting. You know, is that something the president should expect when we meet in person again?
Well, starting to wonder where you're getting your information from, Tim.
While
I firmly approve of that, I don't believe that is in the actual bylaws or constitution of any of the clubs.
Yeah, I was wondering because no one ever did that for me, so I thought that was a little, you know, I felt a little left out actually. You know, I was like, geez. Here's another thing that I read. The president should actually call each member once a week and meet with them in person once a month as part of building relationships. Is there any truth to that, Bob?
Well, I'll tell you, I'd like to say yes, Tim, but with resources and things going on, I don't know how possible that would be. That's a tough one. Now, it is good to stay in touch with your club members. However, one thing we'll learn today, the best way to do that is to delegate and use all of your officer roles to reach all of your members. So I don't know if you're trying to trick me or if that's misinformation, but I would definitely recommend utilizing all your roles and not making that many phone calls.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Bob. I kind of thought so. Well, here's another thing that I saw. Some clubs, the members refer to the president as Mr. or Mrs. President or Great Potentate when they're at the lectern. Now, is that something the club should be doing?
Well, another good one, Tim. We do like to use titles here in Toastmasters. And a lot of times you'll hear people say, Mr. Toastmaster, Mr. President, Madam President, Madam Toastmaster. I think after you get out of that realm, potentate, that's a good answer to the New York Times crossword puzzle sometime, but probably not something that we want to incorporate at Toastmasters. Stick to the main titles that we use throughout our meetings.
Yeah, that sounds good, Bob. And just one more thing. I heard that the president should be expected to do everything in a meeting, set up the room, greet people, run the meetings, sign up new members. Yeah, man, that seems like a lot for one person. Is that something the president should be expected to do?
Well, that's actually a new role that we heard about today for those of you that paid attention in Lance Miller's speech. And that is called a triple hatted. And I will again affirm that we do not promote, or should we have triple haddets in any of our clubs. We should be delegating, building out, and sharing responsibilities.
Okay, Bob, that's it. You answered. You were my Snopes.com. You did a great job. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, Tim. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Back to the slides. Don't pull any more fast ones on me. The slide that you see here is actually a word graph that we came up with about 5 years ago when I taught the president's training at Westmoreland Community College. And I thought this was a good place to start. And this is also a good place to enter some more things in the chat. So if there's anything that you feel that is the president's role, go ahead and enter that into the chat. And I like to just keep and save these ideas, and they have a lot of worth down the road. And maybe if we get these ones in here, I will create a new version of this for the next time I do presidents. And as you can see, there are many things that the president does. If you go into your nice digital program you received today, there's a lot of resources. One is a Toastmaster wears many hats, and that is true. We wear many, many hats, and that is no more true than a president. We have so many responsibilities that we have to do. We are the CEO of our clubs. We set the tone. We have to support our members, welcome our guests, and today we're going to talk about each of those roles that we have throughout the club. As we do that, what we're going to do is we're going to look at this in 3 sections: the club meeting, outside the club meeting, and then the executive committee. And I will go ahead and I will turn this over to my colleague Tim to go ahead and start with what should we be doing as presidents before the meeting actually starts.
Okay, Bob, thanks. That's great. This is definitely something that before I was president that I didn't give a lot of thought to, like before the meeting. I just figured everything happened at the meeting, but obviously that's not true. There's quite a few things that can happen before the meeting. One of them is reaching out to your VPE, either calling, texting, or emailing, however you like to communicate, and asking them if there's any awards that are going to be handed out, any special recognition. That's super important to have that lined up before the meeting. Second thing would be plan the business portion of the meeting. Now that could just be taking a few notes, maybe making, again, some phone calls or emails to the officers, and just having everything together. And third would be review parliamentary procedure, which is basically Robert's Rules of Orders. If you don't know that, there is definitely information online that you can find out about the parliamentary procedure. And the next slide, yes. Okay, upon arrival at the meeting, review the agenda. You just go over to make sure everything's in order. And really important is greeting the guests and members as they come in the room you are the first person they should shake hands with, if possible. Stand by the door and just greet everyone. So that is so important to do that. And then we have during club meetings. Okay, so call the meeting to order. Again, this part of the during the club meeting is the most visible portion of a president's role. And for most people just sitting as a member in the room, this is the only thing they know about the president, is what they see them do during the meeting. So as the first officer, you would call the meeting to order. We actually use a gavel. I don't know if every club uses a gavel, but we do. And I like to welcome the members and guests. And I know Lance really stressed this, being warm and friendly. And I think that's one thing Beacon Club, anybody that's ever visited our club, they come away saying like, wow, you guys are so like just encouraging, friendly, easy to talk with. And that's one of the main things that we stress, especially at the beginning of the meeting. All right, then you want to introduce any guests. Absolutely. Explain the meeting's events. Just go over real quick what a Toastmaster meeting looks like, because especially if you have a guest in the room. And we also, before the meeting, we do the Pledge of Allegiance, and we have someone read the mission of a club. And we do that before the Toastmaster is introduced in our club. And then, so the next thing would be to turn the meeting over to the Toastmaster. And according to this slide, the following thing would be to conduct the business portion of the meeting. But before that, in our club, we like to ask the guests what they thought of the meeting. Just any thoughts they have, anything like that. And then you can go into the business portion of the meeting and then provide information on the next meeting. Obviously, that's always important. So when, where, and all that good stuff. Make any announcements. So if there's any upcoming events, TLI, fall conference, whatever the next big events are, make those announcements. And anything for the good of the club. We like to give people a chance to speak at this point, anything good of the club. And then last, I was going to say last but not least, but probably is least, you're adjourning the meeting. And again, we use a gavel, and it doesn't say this on the screen, but I like to stick around as the president and just talk with the members and guests. And if you can, be the last one to leave the room. So Bob, that's it for the meeting portion of being a president.
That's great. Thank you very much, Tim. And you'll hear me throughout the year, and you'll hear me in past speeches and when I cover this topic. One thing that's very important to me, and Toastmasters has done a good job with this in different articles over the years, but the member experience. If you look at each of those, we can easily sit here and go, yeah, we do that every time, or yeah, Tim, yeah, thanks for the great review of how a meeting goes. You literally have to look at each of those steps through a new member's perspective. You have to thrill that new member as they come in the doors, or they'll have that bad experience and may not come back. So if you're not greeting them, if you're not explaining what's going on, sharing things at the beginning of the meeting, sharing things at the end that are events, explaining each process. A lot of clubs use, roll cards that explain what the role does, because if you don't explain that and someone's coming in for the first time, they're like, why is that guy holding a yellow card up in the air like he's at an auction? Or why? Those type of things are very important. And we're all consumers. We know that. We understand customer service rankings. We understand net promoter scores, that we really need to thrill and hit all of those touch points, because a bad touch point could be the make or break between someone coming back and signing up as a member or just being a guest one time. So I don't want to overlook the importance of that. And we'll talk about those. So you have new ideas or great best practices, towards the end, we'll share them. Outside the club, there are a lot of things that our first-time Toastmasters or Toastmaster presidents may not even know about. And I want to make sure that we at least touch on some of them. You will attend and vote at council meetings. Whether you know it or not, you are a member and a voting member of the district council. So when we have our fall and our spring council meetings, we will vote. You're a part of that team, you and your vice president of education. So you'll see me throughout the year sending memos, Catherine McCarran sending out information for the district council meetings. Look forward to those. And it's always a good time to learn, to get together, and to discuss the business of a district. You also have the responsibility of voting at the annual business meeting and voting at Toastmasters International. And one of the things that I want to talk about and just bring to everyone's attention is there is a proxy that can be used for the annual business meeting and at the Toastmasters International voting for our vice presidents of education and presidents of the clubs. And it's very important. I will share this link that's in the presentation at the end so that you have the information to go. You're going to see things coming out. Elections are held in August at the convention, which is online this year. So many of you may be going because you don't have to travel. There's no expenses, minimal expense if you upgrade to the $25. But the votes are very important, and we can review those, and I'll send that link to you. But just be aware that that's coming, and August is coming very quickly. The new year starts, and then we're at convention. We will work, and you will appoint your audit committee. If you do an audit in your club, if your finances, you'll work with your audit committee to balance everything, and you will appoint the nominating committee. This is going to happen quicker than you think because we're still in last year before the new year. But before you know it, it'll be the spring again, and we'll need to start putting together our nominating committee, get our nominations in, have our officers ready for elections, and then installing our new officers, which we're doing right now, and then attending training. I want to highlight this last one because it's still important. Many of you have done an awesome job, so kudos to District 13. Many of you have turned in your 2021-2022 club officer list. You submit that on Club Central. So you'll have a current officer submit that list to Club Central before the end of June 30th. And that's very important. And the reason that's important, one, it gets it to TI. Two, it gets you your first half point towards your administrative portion of the Distinguished Club Plan. So a reminder there. What else are we doing outside of the meeting? You're actually going to receive the correspondence from World Headquarters. So I, as a club president, highly recommend that you do not opt out of mailings or emails from Toastmasters International. They send important things out, like one that just came yesterday, late in the day, about a club officer form, which I'll share with you towards the end here. It's a club officer agreement form that your new or your current club officers would have received. It'll give you updates on events, reminders of what's going on. Very important to receive those. You'll schedule and chair your executive committees, and that's a very important one. To have your executive committee meetings when you're meeting with your officers team, I highly suggest having them as often as you can. Monthly is preferred because that way you can get together, discuss club business, make sure that everyone's on the same page, delegate, make sure people are hitting their deadlines. And I highly recommend that you utilize and put together a standard agenda that you're going to follow with follow-up dates, action items, and there are some resources in the program for that as well. We will also develop and improve our club leadership, of course, and we'll oversee the club administration. Again, executive meetings are very important. We'll advance club and member achievement. We're going to interact effectively with others. This is a big one. I mentioned this in the main session early this morning. That seems like days ago. Communicate and work with your area and division directors. I love the fact that our district leadership team is out in each of these breakout rooms today, training and working with our incoming officers. We want to help you, help our members so that your members are getting everything they need. They're meeting their goals, all of the things that Lance Miller spoke about, we can achieve them if we're running everything at the club level to the level that we need to show growth, to be effective, and to provide our members that ultimate member experience that we talked about. I highly recommend after the meeting today, reach out to your incoming, or you may want to wait to July 1st when they put the addresses are actually, they won't switch over to July 1st. So you could email me at PQD. I'll get that till July 1st. Then it'll switch over to division director. So my point is, early in July, start reaching out to your area directors if you have not already. Introduce yourself. Let them know I'm the incoming president at Beacon Club, and I wanted to introduce myself. I actually wanted to see if we could start looking at your schedule to see when you could come visit our club. The visits are a great opportunity to get support from the district. It's okay to have problems, to have struggles, to have challenges. We're all going to have that. Lance's club was number 4 in the world. They dropped and are having membership issues. We want to address them and be aware of them so that our leadership team, area directors, division directors, all the way up to the district trio are here to assist you to help your members. You'll also be attending division and area council meetings, very important as presidents that we participate and that we are active in those meetings. That's where you're going to get to know each other the best. I do the same thing. John right now does the same thing in our region. So monthly, John and I are on region calls as a club growth director and program quality director. We're talking to our peers in Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Ohio, Cleveland. Sometimes we're on larger calls where we're interacting with all of the PQDs, all of the club growth directors across, well, sometimes they do it different with time zones, but it can be across the world at different trainings. Do the same in our district. Reach out, participate, get involved in those council meetings. That's where you're going to learn the best practices, how to be successful. You learn so many things being out in the field and partaking in those outside the club activities. The executive committee, again, very important. We talked and joked a little bit at the beginning about, does the club president do everything? You oversee everything, but this is really your opportunity. One of my things, I have always been a control freak. I like to always do things myself. I've learned through Toastmasters that I can delegate, that I can work with a team, that I can trust people giving them tasks. And it's been the most wonderful thing that I've learned in the organization, other than listening, that I have been able to improve. Utilize your team. Make sure that they're getting thorough tasks and instructions given to them that they can achieve, that will help you and that will ultimately help the club. Part of that process, you would have heard one that you'll be completing and working on your club success plan. The club success plan is a keystone pillar to your success. It's going to outline everything that you need to do as a club executive team to be successful in the year, to achieve your goals, to achieve your member goals, and to make sure that you're ultimately achieving your distinguished club program goals for your members. Part of that is creating a budget. You each will have your own budgets, whether you're a corporate club or you manage your own, club dues, to make sure that you can pay for your meeting space, things that you need for the club to succeed, and to have the materials, whether it's, pens, pencils, things of that nature, all the way up to maybe you're a new club or you need a new banner, lectern or things of that nature. So make sure that you're following and creating that with your executive team. Again, we talked about, and we'll go into a little later, the big three, which are club success plan, distinguished club program, and the moments of truth. And you may be asking, okay, well, how am I going to do all this? And there are a few things that Toastmasters International provides us, and those are the 4 questions you see here. So you ask yourself, how will you fulfill this responsibility? When will each action be completed? Who is available to help you? And what materials and resources can you use? I am doing the same thing right now with the district leadership team. We're looking at all of these questions. We are working on our district success plan. We're working on our budget. We're asking these exact questions and building out our teams. Make sure that in addition to your elected officers, you have your elected roles: Vice President of Education, Vice President Membership, Public Relations. Don't stop there. You're going to need committees. You're going to need to appoint people into roles that are not elected. I also firmly believe that having assistants for many of your officers, especially as the year goes on, helps train them for their future leadership roles, but also gives assistance to the club officers. So take some time as you're developing your club success plan, as you're going through all of those materials, and as you're working with your executive team, that you're asking these questions, and that will get you a start to the answers that you need in making the best decision as a collective group. We're going to get a little bit now into the resources. There's some general things that Toastmasters will tell us. I always like that they let us know at Toastmasters Leadership Institute and Club Officer Training that we should attend district-sponsored club officer trainings. Here we are today, so check that off your list. You're already ahead of the game, and it's not even July 1st. Make sure you have the materials that are out there. We tried to do a great job, and if you get a chance, congratulate and thank Kat on her role as public relations manager for the district. She did a wonderful job putting the resources into the digital program that's out there. It'll have things like the club leadership handbook. It'll have the things that you need to identify everyone's roles and responsibilities. Read through those materials, utilize them as a resource. When a question comes up, double check them. Go to Toastmasters International. If you look it up, it's usually on their website. If not, everything Toastmasters is quickly found on Google with a number of clubs that we have across the globe. Meet with your outgoing executive committee. This is a big one, and I would suggest scheduling this if you have not already. That will give you the opportunity to have both teams on the same page, working together. And we did that as a district on June 5th, where the outgoing area directors, incoming area directors all met. They have a transition plan in place to continue to serve all of our district leaders like yourself. Good to sit down, meet with the outgoing president. Make sure you have anything like passwords, keys. You know, you don't want that file cabinet drawer where all of the agendas are to be locked for till the end of time. Find all those different materials that you need. Pass the baton. Make sure you have that. Passwords, of course, are very important because you don't want to be locked out of the places that you need to get for your information. And then, of course, take those ideas, transition back, and if you haven't already, meet as your executive team. Some resources in addition to what we had, and I will let you know that our plan is to, as the year transitions and we transition our passwords and our codes, we will be putting all of the materials on the TLI site for you. So the officers will have access to these materials, and many of these are actually in your program already. I want to just touch on a few things, and then if no one objects, I think that's enough talking for me for a bit. I do want to stress a couple more resources before we go on too far into our conversations. We're going to have quite a bit of time here to open up the floor to questions, best practices. I talked about the big three. This is actually an incentive that we will most likely in some shape or form continue to have in the new year. It's one that we've had for my years in district leadership, and that's the big three. And the big three, you'll hear that along with the member experience from me quite a bit, because I believe in those building blocks for Toastmaster success. Those are those tools that Lance referenced that you go to the Home Depot, you get. They're giving you those tools to be successful. You have to put your tools into action. You have to put your tools into place and to build your club. The club success plan we talked about, you should have had a thorough review during your division breakout sessions. Moments of truth. How many people today attended either the mentoring or the evaluations breakouts? Show of hands. Did anyone get an opportunity to go to either of those? Both of those breakouts today were started by the moments of truth. Diana from Cranberry High Noon and Rachel from Aspinwall, both not knowing, both pulled out of the moments of truth, feedback from the members, and decided to do their high performance leadership project on those two topics. And I was lucky to be involved and to see that transpire. And it was wonderful to see two members go out of their way to utilize the moments of truth that their club did and bring back positive change to their club. So not only is the moments of truth, that's your barometer. That's your survey that you get from the car dealership. That's the email you get from the hotel after you leave. That's when you order on Zappos and they send you, how do you like your shoes? This is our temperature taker. This is our customer service feedback form. The moments of truth gives us the true meaning of what clubs need to do to improve and keep their members happy and give them the ultimate experience. And then of course, we're all familiar with the Distinguished Club Program. Those will be the goals that you go through and work on throughout the year. Just a few more. We know the Toastmasters promise. A little bit on our executive team, and this kind of shows just the way that we put all of the different parts of the program together as a team. And of course, we are finally to this point where I want to open this up to discussion. And I am so glad to take down, if I can, my screen and see everyone again. Okay. Now, we covered a lot of material during that presentation. We have 22 minutes left, I think, according to my clock, where I want to have an opportunity to get feedback, to hear best practices, and to answer any questions that you guys have on the president's role. I want this to be very interactive. I'm here to help. I don't have to answer every question. I want questions between incoming presidents. I want banter back and forth and talking and seeing what we can do. I guess I'll start. We discussed 3 parts of the meeting. I'd like to hear anyone that would like to share best practices or things that they do in their meetings that are successful, that make their life easy, that they continue, that you plan to continue to use as you move forward. I'll give you an example so that we're on the right, and I see Amy's hands up, so that's a good one. I know it's coming. I thought I knew everything. Was club president. Never forget, the secretary walked up to me, it was about mid-year, and she said, "Bob, I have a question. Do you realize that our guest book doesn't have a place for a phone number?" I'd say that's an epic fail in trying to recruit new members. I'm asking, so our guest book was sitting on the table from July to, this was probably, let's say this was November. July to November, people were filling it out. We were doing our job. We were saying, "Hey, welcome to Cranberry High Noon." We weren't getting a phone number. Many times we were getting an email though, but just a small little thing like that. So I opened it up to the floor, and I saw that Amy Knoll had her hand up. So Amy, if that was a hand up, go ahead and you can address the group.
Hi, Bob. First of all, congratulations again. And I'm going to give you my three best practices that I would recommend for people. First of all, your club success plan. Get a copy, or you should already have a copy of the previous year's club success plan, and either modify it or create a new one, or if you don't have it, make sure that you do that. Second thing, as of you hang on up here today, start to put out your invites for your executive committee meetings. They should be at least once a month, and hold to them. Don't cancel them. Meet with them. And lastly is delegate. And I know we've heard this throughout the entire time. I have seen where other presidents struggle and they don't have crucial conversations with their other members who took this oath and took this responsibility. You have to make sure that they're doing their roles. That would be my 3 recommendations for a successful president role.
Certainly agree with those.
Hello, Bob. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you very much for the presentation, and congratulations to you and everyone else moving to the new roles. My question for you is, I guess, the interaction between the presidents and the larger office. How often is that, and what type of interactions that's happening behind the meetings?
Anyone have a good setup now they'd like to share?
I mean, I can add to that. I am incoming as president, but I was this year the VPE. And with my president, when we were in touch probably several times a week, I was text, not always having a meeting, but via text, via emails, just keeping the president up to date on roles that need to be filled, anything for the following meeting. There were never any surprises. If I had to make an announcement at the end of the meeting, she knew that I needed a little bit of time. So I think that that's probably the 2 roles that are going to have the closest communication. Otherwise, I think that the president will probably, touch base periodically with the other roles. But I mean, I do believe that the VPE and the president role is very tightly connected, and it's important to establish that, close communication on at least a weekly basis in that relationship.
That was a great answer, but I'm not sure that was the question. And
Oh,
Marilyn, do
okay.
you want to?
Yeah,
that was a great answer, but I think he meant.
yeah,
It's
thank
fine.
you very much, Lindy, for that. That's additional info, I guess. But
Sorry.
I was thinking more about, the district level and then the main office level. Is there other things that are happening that also take some energy from the president in those roles? What are some of those things?
Bob, I think what we're trying to find out here, is there any plans for the trio to involve presidents in order for us to learn better as a whole instead of individually? At one time, they started to have different training sessions like throughout the year. That looked like it worked a few years ago. I think that's what we're asking for, is like, how are we going to hear from you as the district?
Okay, thank you. I was hitting some chat answers there, so you guys caught me off guard. I had some private questions I was addressing to get out into the open and promote some more questions to come. I firmly believe that ongoing education is going to be a vital part of the district's success. I know that in the short time I've spent with Elizabeth Carter and Stephanie Scott, that they feel very strongly the same way. I don't want to speak for them, but we have plans to provide ongoing education in various ways. I also highly recommend that clubs sponsor and do trainings as well, for 2 reasons. One, if you have something that's going on in your clubs that you can reach out to, especially in this virtual world, share that information, turn it into something, because you're doing a few things. You're getting advertisement out there for guests, and you're also educating your members and other members in the district. Clubs have the ability to do those type of things as membership building. I'd like to see that a little more. Some of those examples I talked about, and I guess they deserve the credit, so I'll harp on both of them. What Diana Lomelin did and what Rachel did, I went to one for Rachel. They had a Tuesday night, I believe, session where they had people like Katina Hunter, Nate Stevens, and others actually evaluating each other. What a training that is on evaluations. Again, the opportunities to do those are at the club level. The district will continue to provide training. Another thing I would like to see, and this isn't so much a district thing, but I'm more than happy to support and do things. We promote and talk about the division, the area council meetings, those type of things that are going on. I know myself where I've got some of the most honest feedback and best learning has been from my peers. So I challenge this group and the group that's on this call to start those type of groups. Now with Zoom, maybe you don't have to have meetings very often, but you share best ideas. What you can do is maybe you start a District 13 presidents page. It's a group exclusive to your group of presidents. You're sharing ideas and you're sharing best practices. You have questions, anything of that nature. Another place that you can always communicate and get training is utilize the tools we have in place. I talked at the beginning about getting to know your area directors, and do that early, because if you have questions, if you need things, share that information with them. You have an area director who's going to come do a visit. Invite them in, have them look at the club, have them share feedback, show them what you're doing. And that comes up. I read, John knows, he's doing it right now, just did it. I read every one of those reports one by one that come across. I see what's going on, I hear the feedback. So I guess to come back around and try to answer your question, we're putting together plans. There will be things coming out. We will have ongoing training. There are the two major trainings that we have to do. I'm a firm believer that we have to fill in the middle of that. So we have summer and winter. Let's continue to keep that momentum going. I like the networking. I like the peer-to-peer because that's a quick answer. But again, if you need anything resources wise, please work through your area director to get to your division director to share that information up. We have ongoing meetings as well. And the other two places that you can incorporate that training is in those area and division council meetings. And I'm more than happy, and other members, I'm sure, to provide additional training. But we need that feedback. You'll get a survey at the end of today. Share that kind of information and ask, because if we know that the members need it, we will go ahead and work to get that out to you. Does that help at all?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I saw Steven had his hand up for quite a while. Luckily, it's virtual and it's not getting tired.
Sorry, that was from a question before you had. I didn't realize it didn't go down. Sorry.
No problem. All right, Jim, do you have a question, or are you just waving?
I do. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Oh, you started out asking us things we do at our meetings to help out. And one of the things is, don't wait till after the meeting to ask people about their roles. When we had in-person meetings, we had a sheet we passed around in the meeting and people would fill in their roles right then. Now that we meet virtually, at the end of the meeting, we ask people to, Elizabeth keeps a list, and we ask the people to fill the roles right then. If you wait till after the meeting, everybody's gone off and they've pretty much forgotten about what they're going to do till the next Tuesday, or when our meeting comes up. The day before, then they'll try to fill the roles. It causes panic. All the things that were shown at this meeting, all the links and everything, not everybody could capture all that information real quick. And you threw out a few goodies I would like to have. Is there any way that you could consolidate that into one email and send it out to all the people that came to the meetings. They could get to any one of those websites, any one of
Yeah,
those
no,
documents.
absolutely. So a couple things. One, and Michelle did have a very similar question in the chat that I saw when I was looking for questions and answering direct messages. The materials will be shared. The best way for us to do that is going to be to put it all on the District 13 TLI website, and then we have them for each TLI, and then we can move them over to resources. So we will be doing that following TLI. We have some man hours and things that have to go into that and delegation of work, but we will get those out. If anyone needs anything ahead of time, please feel free to reach out. Also, at the end of this session, if you save your chat, so when we go back before I adjourn the meeting, if you save the chat, you'll get all those links that were in there on those. There's also in that digital program, many of the resources are in there from the event, and what isn't, we will add to the district website under the TLI page.
Okay, one last thing. I didn't see it, maybe you sent it, but I didn't see an agenda come out ahead of time. And then they said, okay, here's the link to it. Well, if I were to go to that link, I'd have to come back to the meeting. So is there can we go back to the old way of sending out the agenda link ahead of time? So we can print it?
All right, I am,
I think it was sent out. You just had to click. You had to click on the, I forget what it said in the email, and then it took you to the agenda.
and
So
I'll
you
give
must
you,
have-
I'll give you a very quick one so that this is something people can jot down. That's one thing that's hard with not being able to print out and mail everyone like we do in person. We have printed materials. This is a quick one to write down. So just so you're aware, if you couldn't use that link or didn't want to memorize that, if you go to district13tm.com, which is our website, you can just click on the website to the TLI section. But if you don't, it's /events/TLI/, and that takes you to the page. It'll say registration, which will now be closed after today. Under registration, there's a button that says agenda, and you can download the entire program right there.
Thank you. That's all I had.
There was a question I saw. We have about 6 minutes. Pat asked a question for an experienced president. Tell me about a problem that you had as a president and how you overcame it. Anyone want to tackle that one?
Bob, I will if nobody else will.
I was going to say, there's a ton of problems that come, well, no, not kidding, but there is going to be challenges. But go ahead, Amy, you tell one and I'll tell one.
I think one of the challenges, I can name several, just as Tim noted. I think the first one that you really have to do is make sure you always have a pulse on your atmosphere within your clubs. If you start to see something becoming unacceptable or not the right tone, you as the president needs to step in some way to intervene that it might not be as noticeable, and then address the person. Because if you start to experience bad behavior or unacceptable behavior, it is your role as the president. And I can speak for this. If you feel that you don't feel comfortable and you need higher level, the trio will help you as well. But we have to have positive learning environments, as our mission states, in order to keep our club successful. So unacceptable behavior is not acceptable. And that would probably be one of the biggest challenges that I've had as being president, is taking on that role to talk to that person and have a crucial conversation regarding that.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. It's also probably the most challenging, dealing with people. Some of the other problems are more logistic, like we've had a couple instances, we meet at a church and we've shown up for the meeting and there's another group in our meeting space. Okay, so you gotta just, as president, you gotta be able to think on your feet a little bit. And thankfully there was another room within the church that we could meet. So it didn't end up being like, it wasn't too panicky, but you just never know. So you always have to be open and ready for anything to happen, I think is the main gist of what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Bob, if I could, last year we had a very big challenge when 3 of our officers went out for medical purposes and therefore were unable to fulfill their duties. So what ended up happening was we had to overcome, because there was still a job that needed to be done by the remaining officers. So what we did was we ended up having to divvy up the other officers who were off their duties and tackle those as a team. At Elk County, we really emphasize teamwork. And as their president, I've always told them that there's nothing that they will do that I won't do. And I think that's what helped make last year a whole lot easier for us. The fact that we were able to work as a team, and even as president, although it wasn't technically my role to step in as VP of membership or VP of education or VP of PR, being willing to take on those roles set a different form of morale. So that is something that could possibly come up in the future. You never know what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Well, we have a lot of great questions still. Unfortunately, we're coming up to about 2 minutes, maybe less than that, because the room will shut down in a minute and some seconds. I want to thank all of you, 1, for taking on these roles. 2, I invite you to look around, interact with your peers, get to know each other. Look at those division letters are in front. If you're a newer Toastmaster, like Cameron, I'll use you as an example. Look at Lindy, I just see, because you two have the same letter and are on my screen. Those are great connections to make. Utilize those. Continue to meet with your executive teams, continue to work with your teams and utilize all of them. I do want to let you know that there was a club. What was it? I told you something happened and just come out. There was a club officer agreement that just came out from Toastmasters International. Ask your current officers if they received that email to forward to you. I'm going to put a link in the chat. It's similar to what I sign as a district leader, but it's a club. It's brand new. The email just came out yesterday, but I wanted to share it so that you guys at least knew that email came out. So you have an opportunity to ask your current officers if they received that email. It went out to all club officers, and then you can review that. Just didn't want any surprises and anyone going, what's this agreement thing? So that you're aware that that is out there and get a little sneak peek at it. All right, we have a few seconds left. Thank you all again. I will get those resources out. I did see the suggestions. Again, work the channel up. Let your area directors know if you have suggestions, ideas. They'll review them, talk about them in your area and division council meetings. Those ideas do get shared up. If there's things that we need to discuss, implement, add, we're more of an open to those discussions and ideas as long as they make sense and are going to help you succeed and help your club succeed. With that, I'll
Just
let
one more
Tim
thing.
take
Does
us
everyone
out.
know how to